Good morning, CLC. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your energy, your light. Thank you for loving yourself exactly who and how you are. Now, in this moment and at this time, I invite you to join me in spreading that love through you into the ethers for the world. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take a nice deep cleansing breath in, breathing in all the love and light that surrounds you. And as you release the breath, release all that no longer serves you. In this moment, just let go of any doubt, any tension, any stress, any anxiety. Take another nice deep cleansing breath in. And as you release the breath, allow your body to relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one very special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me. I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This could be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in this room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
But I tell you what, it's wonderful to walk in the room and see the pumpkins out, isn't it? Yeah. Many thanks to Denise, Ragway Slate, does our decorating. And people make fun of how you have in the stores in July, they start putting out the Halloween stuff. But if you live in South Texas, it's a welcome reminder that fall will come. So here we are. Exactly. Exactly. And I came in this morning and Mel said they were going to sing I Love Myself the Way I Am. And I Love Myself the Way I Am is a song by, I think it's by David Alt, but the group, the singing group Alliance from back in the day that were based at the Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science. They put out a couple of albums of choral music, and we've been singing that here forever. I mean, close to 40 years at this center. And it reminds me of a story that one Sunday, David Alt was here. Before he was, he's now a minister. In fact, I think he may be a retired minister already. This is before he went into the ministry, and he was a touring musician. And he came here, and we were still meeting upstairs in the other building, and we had that black Young Chang grand piano, which is still up there. And before the service started, I was sitting at the piano just noodling away, picking out I Love Myself the Way I Am. And he came in and stood there for a moment behind me, and he said, what's that you're playing? And I said, it's a song you wrote. And then I realized what I was playing sounded nothing like the song he wrote. And he was too polite to say anything about it. But anyway, I bring that up because it was funny. We didn't telegraph this to each other as we don't normally do. They know the title coming in, but we don't sit down and go over it line by line, who's doing what each week. But last week, the excellent Reverend Arthur Johnson was our speaker. And he said something he said a lot of things I thought were really profound, but there was one that I had to sit down. I mean, it just really struck me. He said, I love myself the way I am, says the song. I love myself the way I am, and still I choose to grow. He says, I love myself so much that I'm not willing to leave myself be the way I was. Now, I've been singing that song, and you've been singing that song, Lo, these many years, and I never saw that in it. But he did. And that's the mind that he's operating with that is such a joy to listen to when he comes and visits with us. I love myself enough that I'm not willing to leave myself where I was, because life is a process, life is a journey. So what I thought we would do, before he said that and before all of this other happened, I thought we'd have a series on healing and talk about healing, spiritual healing, because spiritual healing is the foundation of New Thought. And you have wandered into a New Thought center this morning. New Thought is comprised of religious science, unity, divine science, and a number of independent works, and they all teach basically the same thing, which is that God is all there is. God is all there is, which means that the divine life is appearing through every bit of creation simultaneously, and any issue that occurs in terms of our dissatisfaction with life, our fear, our doubt, is a result of our not having seen that. It's a result of our having introduced into the process some sense of separation from our source. So what we're always singing about, talking about, eating about, walking across the room about, is reassociating ourselves with the divine life, including in troublesome people, difficult circumstances, and unmet goals. It's all spirit. It's all God. Is it all good? Well, that's a different question. It's not all comfortable. It's not all seamless. And you heard in this song Mel just sang about, it introduced the idea, there's this sweet song she's unfolding here, and I'm listening to the words, and that they're just wonderful. And then it's like, and we're all going to die. And we're like, oh, and our heads are bobbing along. Oh, isn't that great? You know, here's the thing. It's like the ultimate irony of life is that no matter how evolved we are, no matter how spiritual we are, no matter what great people we are, at the end of it all, our bodies fall off. They just do. And they've done this for every living soul. Not just the ones who were not prayed up or were agnostic or were lost in the forest. Absolutely every one of us, which tells you that life is, if we believe in the soul, if we believe in the presence of ubiquitous divinity, it means that life is about more than the temporal, more than the spatial, more than time, more than space. It's about more than the stuff that was listed in that song, the accomplishments that we have, the acquisition of things, and piles of money, and even lots of friends, and even great deeds. All of this doesn't add up to what really lasts, which is a process of life and self-discovery in it. We are learning more about ourselves as we go. The process of healing is widely misunderstood, if you will bear with me. I feel it's misunderstood. Healing is looked at as situational. You come to the red light and you stop. When the light turns green, you go. Healing is seen as remedial. It's a remedy for something. There's a problem here. We've got to heal the problem. But healing, in fact, is an ongoing process, always occurring through each one of us. Right now, where you're sitting, your body is healing itself. Okay? Even the things that you don't see as being wrong in it, it's not, obviously, if you cut your finger, it's going to scab over, and nutrients and things in your body are going to flow in your bloodstream. Vitamin K, isn't it, that causes this? Creates a protective sheath around the situation. I'm looking here at Lisa because she's our medical expert in the room. Stuff migrates in the body to wherever a problem is set up and begins to restore it to well-being. But it goes way beyond that. Healing is constantly occurring even where there's no breach, because growth is healing, progress is healing, greater self-awareness is healing. There's emotional healing occurring. There's relational healing occurring. There's healing occurring every time we learn something new about ourselves and say, oh, whenever I do this, that happens. And if I don't like that happens, then I need to look back at this that I do and make some adjustments there. That's a healing thing. Every time the alarm clock goes off and we don't want to get up, but we've got obligations, that's a healing. That's a healing right there, because we're healing out of torpor and we're healing out of resistance and we're healing out of, you know, like Marcia used to say, I got a big case of the I don't want us. You know, every time you push through the I don't want us to do what has to be done. And somebody said wisely one time, if you really want a situational lesson in that, get a dog. Okay? Because you got to walk the dog. No excuse will do. You can say certainly the same thing about children. You know, I'm sorry, I don't feel like taking you to school today because no, that doesn't work. You've just got to do it. Well, every time you do that and you push through, you say, well, that wasn't so bad. Every time you do something to take care of yourself, it's a healing. Every time you do something to take care of somebody else, it's a healing. What is healing? It's revealing innate wholeness. It's revealing the fact that everything is whole and complete behind the scenes. Here's another term that's widely misunderstood. Perfection. We speak about whole, complete, and perfect. That everybody's whole, complete, and perfect. We say, I know some people who aren't perfect. I know some people who aren't even any good. But it doesn't mean an extension of goodness. It's not an empirical language extension from good, better, best, perfect. It doesn't mean, it's not a behavioral thing, okay? Perfection means inclusion. It means that you're a circle. You're a circle, and within that circle that you are is your body, is your mind, is your soul, are your ambitions, your desires, as well as your resistance, your forgiveness, as well as your grudges. All of that is contained within one whole space, and that space is perfect in that it is a holistic representation of you. There's nothing missing. There's not a piece of you missing. All is in there. You got problems, they're part of you, and therefore they're healable, they're fixable, because they exist within the same space as their solution. You've heard it said that every problem has its answer within earshot. There's an old saying from the Zen, I think it's from the Zen, that says the needle pulls the thread. Think about that a moment. The needle pulls the thread. In other words, that which separates, that which punctures, that which harms in some way, carries in its train its own remedy, that which stitches things up. For instance, you might have your heart broken. I've been listening to this song lately by Bob Mould. I just love this song. It says, when your heart is broken, is the name of the song. You can look it up. And well, when there's something that's required to have your heart broken. It doesn't just come out of left field. To have your heart broken, you first have to give it to somebody. You see, you first have to hand it off, and you hand it off to your lover, to your parents, to your children, to whoever breaks your heart, to society as a whole. And you say, here's my heart. Would you hold this for a while? And whoever you hand it to drops it. Maybe steps on it, squishes it a little bit, you know. And so that was a good move. That was not a good move. Should I have trusted this person? Should I have given my heart? Maybe I won't give my heart ever to anybody, ever again. Swearing off people. You ever do that? Read The Christmas Carol. Dickens. This is why Scrooge, one of the most reviled characters in literature, turns out the way he does. It's because he got hurt in childhood. He decided, bah humbug to people. We'll talk more about him in a few months when it's time, you know. But, right, he swore off relationships. He alienated his whole family as a remedy to having his heart broken. Well, that's one way to approach it, but it's no way to live. So instead, what you do, if you hand somebody your heart and they drop it and kick it across the room, is you go get it and you pick it up and you dust it off and you put it back in the center of your chest where it belongs and you go on from there. That's healing. And you're wiser now. And maybe some naivete has worn off. But you're coming more into a full possession of yourself. That's healing. In New Thought, when we speak of healing, we never want to overpromise and underdeliver. We never want to make people think that we've cornered the market on the healing matter, and that if you just pray the right way to the right kind of God, all your problems are going to go away. No. What will happen is you'll be cooperating with divine energies in a way that will make your life better. Here's the thing about affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, form of prayer that we use in this place, is that I have seen it do remarkable things. I have had it in my own life do remarkable things. It tends to do them in a circuitous kind of way rather than bang, bang, But I've never seen it not improve something for anyone. It might not raise the dead, each time you speak this word. Maybe we don't have that power. Maybe Jesus was so tied into his connection with his Father, with his source, that he was able to speak the word and bring Lazarus out of the tomb. I've not been able to do that, and I've tried. Because I've had friends in the tomb, and so have you, But I've never seen it not improve things somewhat. Nobody's not a little better off by having prayed in faith believing. If you're going to pray at all, rather than have it being the kind of hopeless prayer where you say, this is a real long shot, what I'm about to pray here. This is probably never in a million years going to happen, but what the heck, I'll give it a shot. Guess what? You're not surprised when nothing much seems to change. But when you believe in advance that the word that you're speaking in prayer is going to make a difference, it gives it permission to make a difference. And suddenly you feel better. Suddenly is your sciatica going to go away overnight? Maybe not. But you'll digest your food better and you'll sleep better and you'll have a clearer mind. Some area of your life will improve. And it gives permission to the other areas of your life to catch up. And gradually they begin to. I had a major health scare about almost 2 years ago. And I'm a guy who lazy or overworked or whatever I was. I didn't go to doctors and stuff. And it's not a religious thing. Because that's another misunderstanding. We'll get into that in a later week. But so I went. It's a long story, and I'm not going to give you the details, eager as you are to hear them. See everybody leaning forward. What happened here? But no, I went in and I got checked out, and they said, you got some stuff going on, and you need to do some things about it. And so I did some things about it, and everything you'll be happy to know, or at least I'm happy to know, it's all, everything's fine now. It's all, there's still what they call underlying conditions, or this is my favorite expression, comorbidities. You really want to hear that one. But, there's stuff going on, but it's managed and all like that, And, it was a healing to have the wits scared out of me. It was a healing to have this opportunity now to interact with the medical profession in a way that I hadn't since I was a child. To surrender. And you do this when you're working with the medical profession. You say, here's my body. Y'all know what to do with it. Have at it, and give it back to me when you're done. And I learned so much. And I learned a lot about, as did my wife, and learned a lot about medications and timing and diet and stuff. Diet? I never thought about diet. I told Lisa one Sunday I came in here, I said, I eat like a teenager. I eat whatever's there. I don't think about the 4 basic food groups and, all of this sort of thing. But when you have the slack jerked out of you by life's experience, then, you start paying attention. So that was a healing. But you know what? It's still a process, because no matter how I take care of myself, one day I won't be here and neither will you. So there has to be either a terrible tragedy to that life is just built to all of us go over the cliff, or it means that this life wasn't ever meant to be permanent. These bodies weren't ever meant to ride it all out. That there's something in us that's non-physical, that's pure light, and that's what's going to go on and explore the next episode, the next journey. But the point I really want to make about this is that healing is forever. Healing is a process. Healing is a process. Healing is a process. Greatest healer we ever know, Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ, he healed the centurion's servant. He healed the palsied man. He healed all kinds of people. He cast out the 7 devils out of the woman and all of this. But you know what? As soon as he did that, their lives weren't over. They still had choices to make. They still had stuff to do. They could have gone right from that moment of healing and been run over by a chariot, for crying out loud, But they didn't. They kept going, and right? Tomorrow's another day. You forgive. This is another thing, because it's a relational healing. When you forgive, people think, well, I thought I'd forgiven everybody. No, there's more to go, because you've had a long, rich life, and all these people live in your head. And whatever they didn't say or didn't do, you can construct a fictitious conversation. Have you ever done this? Pull to mind a person in your life who caused you some issues at some point and create a conversation with them where they find new ways to hurt you. We do this. You go back to when you were in 4th grade and you didn't have your homework done and all the kids in class laughed at you. Can you put yourself back in that space and have them laugh harder? We do that. We punish ourselves with repetitious experience of suffering until we're ready to stop doing that, until we're ready to forgive. But forgiveness is not a one and done. None of this is a one and done. It requires consistent use of spiritual principles, consistent use of spiritual principles, which is why I'm always saying, and all of your teachers here are always saying, you need a regular spiritual program, and what that spiritual program is entirely up to you. Read your Bible if you're a Bible person. Read your Science of Mind textbook if that floats your boat. Read some improving literature. Meditate on it. Sit and do prayer work. Don't just think about prayer. Don't just admire prayer. Somebody, I forget who, said that about the Bible. They said it's the most admired book it's ever written. We have one. We put it up on our shelf, and it's, oh, look, it's the Bible, or whatever your holy books are, and you admire it. It's not going to do you much good admiring it. Even if you have friends in and all of you stand around admiring it, it's not the same. As you sit there and you delve into it, I was saying to Mel before the service, this is something I so admire about Reverend Arthur. Reverend Arthur has a heavy biblical background, having been a Southern Baptist minister for a long time. But nevertheless, what he does with Scripture or anything, and I've seen him do this not just with the Bible, but you hand him Neville. You hand him Florence Scovel's Shin, and he'll find something in there, just like he did in that song lyric that I've never seen before, and nobody around me has either. Where is he going to get that? He's going into his own spiritual program to get that. He's going into his own process of doing this because he does it every single day. This is not a man who says, well, I've got a speaking engagement coming up, so I better do some study and some meditation and some prayer. No, every single day he's doing this. Am I there with him every single day? No. But how do you know he does it? Listen to him. Watch him. And you'll see. This is somebody he's a walking testimony to regular spiritual practice. You and I tend to want to make it all about specifics. Well, what practice is it? What denomination is he? And all that. That doesn't matter at all. Not at all. Not one bit. The God I believe in doesn't have a religion. How's that for blowing your hair back? Okay? Right? This is great. Whatever path you take to find me. That's what God says to us. Whatever path you take to better understand me, go for it. Godspeed. That's what God says, Godspeed. And then it kind of laughs at itself because it's sort of funny, you know. But, you know, so when we develop the regular spiritual practice, then when things go sideways, which sometimes they will, we're better prepared to manage them, to deal with them, to look at them in a certain way. The concept of spiritual healing is found expressed very beautifully in a book called, wait for it, Spiritual Healing, by Dr. Stuart Grayson. Dr. Stuart Grayson. Do you remember the series that we had a couple of months ago on Raymond Charles Barker? And Arthur brought up Raymond Barker last week because that power of decision was his topic. Well, Raymond Charles Barker was minister in New York City for a really long time. And his protege, his ace student, was Stuart Grayson, who took over for him when he retired. Barker retired, moved to the West Coast. And Stuart Grayson took over at First Church of Religious Science of New York, which is where my aunt and grandmother attended, and they studied with Stuart Grayson. They sat through services with Barker, but they really got involved once Grayson took over, and they studied with him. And so when I decided to go into the ministry, after my family picked themselves up off the floor, they introduced me to Stuart at an event. We were at an event, I forget where, somewhere in the Midwest, and a bunch of people had shown up from various points, and I was introduced to him, and I bravely marched up to him and I said, would you ever consider coming to speak at my new little church in Houston? And he said yes. And then I picked myself up off. Well, twice he was our guest down here, and the second time in '98 was just after he had published this book, Spiritual Healing. This book went crazy. This book, the New York Post serialized this book. Can you imagine that? It did more. This is again, 35 or so years, 37 years ago. It did, isn't that right? Yeah. It did 27 years ago. It did more to get New Thought concepts out to the general public than a whole lot of other stuff that we had seen written that was more for the trade, more in-house, you know what I'm saying? And he wrote this book. He developed 13 principles, 3 of which I have incorporated without you knowing it into this talk, and you'll get more in the weeks to come. But he wrote this because he had a healing. And that was part of what sent him on a spiritual journey. He was a sickly youngster. And he prayed. He was taught to pray, and he fell into the hands of some people who knew some things, and they got him to praying in a positive way for answers, and his body responded, and he was able to thrive. Then he went to college, and while he was in college, he had a spiritual crisis, and he was trying to figure out who he was and what he wanted to do with his life, and he had a lot going on, and I think the fear of the return of the illness kind of haunted him, you know. And so, this story I'm telling you is not in the book, but he told it to me personally. He's told it to other people too. But he said, I was walking down Broadway one day, and I said basically to God, if you're out there, I need some help here. Give me some guidance. Show me what to do. And he said, a voice said, go here. Turn in this door. He's walking down, Broadway shops and stuff, restaurants and things. And it said, turn in here. Could have been a dry cleaners. Could have been a pool hall. Could have been anything. Turn in here. It was a Vedanta bookshop, the Vedanta Society. Vivekananda, and it had come to America at the start of the 20th century, and they set up material about the Vedas, which are the holy books of Hinduism. And he started studying Advaita Vedanta, and the idea behind this, and it's in the Western esoteric tradition too, is what? The ubiquity of the divine. Spirit is all there is. He started taking classes with these people. He started going there, hanging out there as much as he could. One day he says to them, this is so wonderful what you're teaching me. I wish there were something like this in the West. And they kind of laughed, and they said, well, there is, down on 48th Street. It's called the First Church of Religious Science. And that was how he got there and walked in. So some years later, looking back on all of this, looking back on his journey in healing and looking at the healing that he'd facilitated for other people through his ministry work, he created this book with these concepts in it. The book is the simplest possible thing. It says there is one life. That life is God. That life is all the life there is. That life is the life of your body. It's the life of your soul. It's the life of your mind. It's the life of every person you're ever going to meet. It's the life of the committee that lives in your head. It's the life of everything you're trying to outgrow and everything you're growing toward, that you're trying to become. It's that life is, there is nothing that is not that life. How many ways do you want to put this? There is nothing that is not there. There is no place where God is not. You can frame it in the negative. You can frame it in the positive. Sometimes framing it in the negative gets your attention better than framing it in the positive. God is all there is. Just kind of sits there when you say, there is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere where divine energy is not present, including in the parts of life that are really awful. It's right there. And the more that I recognize that, the clearer that I become on that, better my life works. And there's an ease and a peace and a trust. And I may still wake up with a headache or a toothache or something. I may still have the signs of age that come. I may still have occasionally hurt people's feelings or not get what I want that I really deserve, or things seem unfair, or blah, 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 right? Whole long list of stuff. That may well happen. But I won't forget who I am. And I won't forget the power that made me. And I will see it come shining through somehow, some way. So come back next week for more on this. Let's know together now that one life, that one power working through us now, unimpeded. It knows what it's doing, and we cooperate with it. No longer do we resist it. All it wants from us, the will of God for us, is to know who we are, to know the love that is baked into us. That's what we're here to do, and to share that in kindness, in friendliness, in joyous expectancy. We're here to create and recreate, to take down and put back up in some new way, to fix and restore, and occasionally to rescue ourselves and each other from perils and upsets. We're here to tell our stories and to hear each other's stories. Here to sing our songs. And as we relax into this, it becomes easier and easier to do, easier to remember. For this knowing, for the way that it rolls out in form, for the daily maintenance of our spiritual condition, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
The poem I have for you today that I know I recited it at Unity in the Woodlands. I'm not sure if I did it here before, though. This is meant to be almost interactive, almost meditative. So if you feel so inclined, please interact and meditate with it. And if not, just listen and enjoy. The title of the poem is Respirational. Come, breathe with me. You exist as a gift of divine grace and possibility. Let love's spirit of wisdom and light nourish you into shining bright. Allow its gentle embrace to cleanse that sacred space beyond doubt and complacency. where your soul dwells. From the midst of nothingness into the potential that is symbiosis. These are the muddy waters from where dreams froth forth into reality, saturated by the ever-evolving fogginess of faith, hope, and possibility, forming skin, flesh, separating egos, collecting what's left, to bestow the presence of presence, creating a unique display of itself that can only become present if you allow it to be. Come, breathe with me through this reflective blue-black fermentation of form into form to form the extraordinarily developing identity of you that has yet to be. Breathe in, breathe out, giving all of yourself to the process of developing this beautiful new route, a sparkling path that is forever transforming the stucco of grout of intentional, persistent existence into being. Breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in again. Inhale the minute particles of expression that make up all the elements of magic, wonder, and delight. Let the tickle of coolness enter the back of your throat. The rush of newness travel down your nose, up your head, and down to the tips of your pinky toes. Exhale the presence of this possession, releasing it from within, allowing all that no longer serves you to emit from your skin, wrapping each particle as it exists, you in gratitude for the blessings it has bestowed upon you. You during its time aboard you, knowing each instance provided a lesson disclosed for you to live your very best life in this duration, to fully execute your greatest potential and highest, most astute acumen. Breathe in, breathe out. Pour the entirety of yourself into this treaty through the theological continuum, ancient and true, liquid waves of the divine transfixed upon you, dissolving through you, transforming you, birthing you anew, authentically sublime, ready to make its glorious debut. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in again. Never stop being, co-creating, believing that this reconstituted existence you're working through into formation is significant. This universe needs you. You are our lungs, our air, encompassing the best of us that is already there, embracing the ripples and waves to create one unified heartbeat. The drum this world craves. Your Genesis moment on repeat, a precious opal of destiny, the manifestation of eternity. The godling that is you, releasing its belief into universal law, reigning true. It has always been the most powerful force known to skew the organic GPS from the gear of surviving to thriving. Because that, my dear, is your truest calling. The power that has always and will forever be meant to produce is ready, willing, and waiting for you. So breathe it all in and exude your glorious manifestation of infusional existence with the God that lives and loves within each and every one of you. Thank you.
But apparently I don't. That was wonderful, Dainill. Thank you. And also thank you, Jeffrey and Mel. That was a beautiful song. Seriously. Yeah, okay. Let's see. What's going? I have no puns today. You're. No, seriously. Your poem drove it out of my head. And by the way, I personally found the best way to listen to your poem was with my eyes closed, because then I could truly concentrate, you know. So once again, thanks. One thing that came out of Philosophy Friday this week, we got a member who attends Agape Spiritual Center. That's Michael Beckwith's Spiritual Center it's in Beverly Hills. And he said that normally our spiritual mind treatment is 5 steps. But he said add gratitude on at the beginning. So you start with gratitude, you go through the other steps, and then you end with gratitude and release. So I thought it was a wonderful idea to put yourself in that spiritual mind frame by starting with gratitude. So once again, thank you very much for all your contributions. It helps keep the lights on here, helps get the AC going, but most importantly, it helps us get this message, like you heard today from Reverend Jesse, out to the world. So please take your gift in your hand, either physically or metaphorically, and say with me, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
And I was thinking about what you said about that Kirtana song. So I started reading Your Spiritual Power, which is a collection of inspirational writings from Ernest Holmes. And I find it interesting that they decided to start with immortality. It's real short. It's about 40-ish pages. But he's starting with immortality, and I'm like, well, let's just jump off the cliff into the really hard stuff. But I think that there's a reason for that, because sometimes in our human experience, that's what we have to do. We have to face up to that hard thing first, and then we can hear anything else that comes after it. Because I'm reading the rest of it, because the next book in that, the next title is Your Invisible Power. So once we've dealt with this, oh, okay, the body's going to come off. Now I'm ready to hear everything else. But that's what spiritual treatment does for us. It softens us up so that we can hear everything else. So whatever it is that you are looking to do this week, treatment is a great place to start. What I like to say about treatment is it's all sacred all the time. However, when we go into treatment, we consciously step into that sacred space. We bring our awareness into that space where nothing has ever been wrong, because nothing can be. And we marinate in it for a moment. And a moment can be as long as you need it to be, as short or as long as you need it to be. So we marinate in that energy. I think Dr. Goswami likes to call it our bliss body. That's the God body. It's the idea of you that God has. Not your idea. God's idea of you. So step with me now into that, knowing that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And each and every one of us are a manifestation of that life. We are a channel for that power. We are the vehicle for that love. And as we walk through this week, we are aware of that bliss body. Our own bliss body and each other's bliss body. And more importantly, the world's bliss body. that place where only love lives. That we reach out and consciously touch it, allowing that love to flow back through us out into the material realm. Allowing for the amazing healing process that love both begins and hurries along, that it assists, and at some point will end, only to begin again. If life truly is a circle, love never ends. And anything is possible. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being. Because there is nothing quite like gratitude to set you up for the most amazing thing that can happen. I am grateful. I am grateful for a teaching that reminds me who I am. I am grateful for a community that comes together to remind each other who we are, beloved expressions of the divine. I am grateful for our ministers, our musicians, our practitioners. I am grateful for each and every one of you. I am grateful for the technology that allows us to send this message out into the ethers and to hear it echoing back to us in hundreds of billions of voices. And I relax into that knowing, releasing my word with love into that law that always says yes. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love
And
it.
so it is.